Well, I got 5:30, so let's get the finance administration started. We'll do the pledge. All right, let's get it started with the roll call. Sandy?
Nathan Parchman,
Here.
Jessica Lott. Here. Stephanie Small here.
Here.
Jim Campbell. Here. Andrea Phoney.
Here.
And Jim Blackburn.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. We'll move on to 1.3, approval of the minutes. So if I could get a motion and approval for that.
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Can we get, all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign? All right, that passes. So we'll move on to 2.1, motion to approve the budget to actual report for period ending December 31st, 2024. So if there's any questions on that, you can ask them now. Otherwise, we can get a motion. Got a motion? Second by Jim. All right. Any questions from the committee, council, public? All right. If not, can we get a roll call?
Parchman.
Yes.
Lott.
Yes.
Small here.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Phoney.
Yes.
Blackburn.
Yes.
All right, that passes. We'll move on to 3.1, the preliminary FY26 budget. Throw it over to Sandy.
Okay, well, welcome to the most wonderful time of the year. It is budget time. It is true. Robin and I love budget season. So this again is our preliminary presentation of our FY26. As I state in the notes, this is very preliminary. Our department heads submitted all of their requests. You'll see the large spend items, any personnel additions. Just because they're on this report does not mean they'll be on the final budget. So one of the things we do want to focus on will be our projected tax revenues as well as the IT budget. And the IT department is here should you have any questions for them. But we will start with the projected tax revenues for the year. So I apologize if this is kind of small. Tell me how to blow it up. No?
The plus sign. Yep, up to the left.
Up. I don't know. Oh, using the fingers. Love technology. Okay, so we will start. So you will see, we will start with the food and beverage. So the food and beverage, and first I will preface all of these numbers. We, as in the past, are very conservative with our numbers. These are preliminary numbers, as I've said. It is currently based on our projections of where numbers are coming in currently. So we're looking first at food and beverage, and we are projecting a 4% increase. And basically that is based on our year-to-date estimates as well as new restaurants or food establishments that will be starting in this new fiscal year. So again, we're increasing it just by about 50,000 based on our year-to-date. One of our big things we always look at, that's a big portion of our budget, is our sales tax. This year we are looking at a 4% increase. Last year was also a 4%. This year does include the removal of Hyundai Offenburg. But even with that, in our projected growth, we are looking at a 4% increase. The state use tax is one that IML for years and years, and if you've been to these preliminary budget talks, we always talk about the use tax, and IML's always told us that it's going to go down because of the Wayfair Act, where it was the level playing field. Well, IML projections are finally going down. We are starting to see a decrease in our use tax, but again, it's to be offset by the sales tax. So we are looking at a 33% decrease in that use tax. However, we feel, the sales tax, although it's not a dollar for dollar, it will not affect us. Again, we've been preparing for that. The state income tax, again, each year we have been seeing increases. IML is projecting increases again. This is based on a per capita rate. Based on their projections, and they're talking about corporate profits are increasing, economic growth is causing the corporate tax and income taxes to increase. That percentage that we're looking at receiving from the state income taxes represents about a 9% increase. Utility tax, this is one that's been pretty stable, even though it is, it's not based on actual dollar amount, your energy cost, it's based on the number of kilowatts that people are using. And so again, each year we've talking about in the solar panels, more people are using solar panels. So that usage is actually going down. We're maintaining that because of, additional households that offsets those that are going to solar. So we're keeping that flat. Cable franchise, again, this is something, it's been pretty steady. Based on our projections, we have increased it slightly. So you will see a $15,000 increase in that revenue. Phone franchise, and again, this is a portion where Parks also gets. We have seen, again, a decrease. Each year we've seen a consistent decline in that revenue stream. And so we have decreased that by $15,000. Video gaming proceeds, so this is the amount, the percentage that we get from people who are using the slot machines, video gaming. So we have actually seen an increase, and this projection is based on where we are. We're looking at an increase in what we'll be receiving, so we did go ahead and project a slight increase in that. One thing we did see, however, is our video gaming licenses. So we actually have less number of machines here in O'Fallon. Last year, per the report from the city clerk, we had 89 machines. This year, the current report, we have 78. So that kind of fluctuates throughout the year. Some may add, remember, businesses can have up to 6 machines. So some may only have 4, so they may decide to get another machine. They may have 6 and they go down. So this is a projection. We are decreasing that revenue stream. Ameren franchise, that's based on our franchise agreement. That still is in effect, so we know that's the definitive amount. The Muni Ag fee, again, that is just based on that .001 of the municipal ag that we get. So that is basically a 2.59% increase in some of our major general fund revenues. Last year it was about a 3.72. So we are seeing a slight decrease in those revenue projections. Our non-general fund revenues that we talk about is our hotel motel, which is in our economic development fund. So we're looking at about a 3% increase, and that is kind of based on where we are to date, our budget to actuals. When we're looking at those, we are projecting them to come really almost on budget. Oh, sorry. To come on budget, but with additional growth. Now the other hotels that will be being built, they will not be online yet, but we are hoping to see a 3% increase on those. MFT, again, this is a non-general fund revenue. IML estimates are putting it, we're projecting a 4% increase in the MFT. The Prop S, Parks and the Build O'Fallon Trust, which is the half-cent sales tax, the half-cent for Prop S, and then the additional half where a quarter goes to Parks and a quarter goes to the Build O'Fallon Trust. We are seeing a trend, as we did our sales tax, of an increase. So again, that is not affected by auto sales, because Hyundai doesn't affect this half-cent sales tax. So those basically are what we are projecting for our projected revenues. Again, these are conservative. One thing that just came in the mail today was the new IML, and they have revenue projections that I have not had a chance to compare. So before we start our budget meetings next week to start balancing the budget, those numbers will be reviewed as well. So that is for the projected revenue. If anybody has any questions on those before I go on.
Any questions for Sandy? All right, from the council? Public? No? Move on.
Okay. So I talked a little bit about the IT budget. So we had started several years ago to have their own cost center. And so they provide their own budget, but they talk with all the departments and they figure out what their needs are as well. So you can see the summary that IT has given. And you'll see where it's approximately a 1% increase over FY25. I mean, it's very small. The planned equipment replacement projects, those are listed down here in the large spend ticket items. They're basically network equipment, computers, camera systems. They do have a few IT building and site repairs that they have listed for $50,000. And what's really nice that they do a nice little summary here. So these nice charts kind of provide an idea of where their budget, where the area of impact, where most of it is the 39%, you've got IT, which is directly associated with theirs. The enterprise are multiple departments, and this is the part where those costs are shared based on their need or usage. And then, you know, the class cost, where are all these funds located or allocated for? And you'll see that almost 35% is just the personnel, but then our biggie is, of course, an IT software and the SaaS and the hardware. So that's basically the IT budget. And as I said, this is something that all the departments we look at. IT then basically allocates the cost into each department's budget, because when we start on Monday, those costs are already in there because everybody is allocated. So that is the IT budget. As I said, Dan and Tom are both here, so I don't know if anybody has any questions. We also have included in the past is a listing of all of the software and things that they maintain. So that is out there as well, and you can see as it is very large as far as the supplier contracts. As you can see, it is everything that is listed that our IT department are responsible for. So they have again, it's a very wide list, so it gives you an idea of the complexity of our IT department. And then the last thing, the second to last that we always want to look at is a large spend detail. So a lot of these are already associated with the CIP projects that were presented in September. So a lot of these projects you have already seen. But again, because they're on this list doesn't necessarily mean they'll make it in this next budget year. But these are what have been submitted, that will be reviewed. There are a few you'll see that say new, so they may or they would, something that came up after the CIP that there is a need. And again, you can see it is broken out by departments, and if you have some that are shared, like our enterprise funds, they may share with water, sewer, and streets. But again, these are our large spend item details. One thing I did include in our packet is excerpts about the purchasing manual and how if it's on the large spend, so once the budget is approved, if it is on that large spend detail, it will not come back to council for approval, because that technically you've seen it, you've approved it. But that is in our purchasing manual. that does provide kind of the guidelines of how that is done. Now, if it is 20% or over, it will come back, but if it's on the large spend detail, you know, again, it will not be presented again. And that's basically, the next thing is a budget timeline. As I mentioned, things were submitted to the finance department. Robin is doing her magic, kind of making sure that everything ticks and ties before we start on Monday. And then February 3rd through the 5th, we will start as a leadership team getting everything to a point where it's balanced. This is a good opportunity. You know, we've been in talks, you know, as far as needs of department heads and of the council. You know, the CIP is really the driving force of a lot of the large projects, the large spend items. We'll be presenting, once we meet February 24th, that committee meetings, the departments who are having committee meetings will present their individual department budgets, and it also follows through on to March 10th. And then on the 24th, we will have a final review by the Finance Committee. So at the Finance Committee, we'll have the balanced budget to present in whole, and then we will have first and second reading in April. One thing I did not go over were the new positions. That's another thing we have attached to the packet. So this year, these several positions that have been submitted, again, they've been submitted, they'll be reviewed. Public Works Administrative Assistant and Public Works Project Engineer, both of these are associated with additional projects that, like stormwater or other projects that Public Works will be undertaking. Any position that is approved, they'll be talking more about that position during their budget presentation themselves. Public Safety Social Worker, this is a request. They are looking at getting a 3-year grant from Memorial Foundation. We have not heard back on that yet, but it is not grant dependent. Even if we don't get the grant, this is something that we will look at adding to the budget. The park specialist this one is dependent upon taking over the St. Ellen Mine Park. Should that come through, additional resources will be needed. So a park specialist will need to be hired. The sports park coordinator and park maintenance labor, these are both currently part-time positions. Due to the increased need, these have been requested to move to full-time positions. So that, in a nutshell, is the preliminary data. Again, it's not finalized, but it gives you an idea of where we will start on Monday. So if you have any certain areas or concerns that you have, please reach out to me, and we'll make sure that they'll be addressed. We will also be looking at the Bill O'Fallon Trust Fund. If you recall, every year there's funds available through that, and we'll be looking at projects that possibly may be funded with that. So we're looking probably right around $1 million that could be used for a project, or it can remain in the Bill O'Fallon Trust Fund and continue to grow if you find no need for the projects. Any questions on this preliminary presentation?
Any questions from the committee? None, Jessica? No. All right.
No.
All right. Council? Public? All right, step on up.
Ron Zelms, Ward 6. Your new positions, I don't know if you get to prioritize those or not, but I know they're in different departments, but I would definitely put Public Safety Social Worker up there at number 1. I think they could do great things within the city and in coordination with the school districts and everything else. And again, as you say, it may not be dependent on a grant or not. And you hit on it a little bit, the St. Ellen Mine Park. That's the first time I've heard about the possibility of us taking over that from the county. Is that something they'll discuss more at a parks meeting? That's the first I've heard of it. So if it's not up for discussion tonight, I understand.
Right, it's
If
still in the
something more to bring up.
preliminary, right, it's just, we need it because of the budget, it's out there, but.
Okay, I guess the only question I would have, and I go out there every now and then with the dog and everything, I'm not sure why you would need one person for that park, but I don't know. So anyway, so I guess I'll bring that up at a parks meeting.
Thanks, sir.
Can I just add a comment?
Yeah, Jessica.
It was discussed, the St. Ellen Mine possibility at a Parks meeting. In the fall, there was a presentation PDF, so I'm happy to look that up. I'll send it to you.
All right, thanks, Jessica. Any other questions? Yep, come on up.
Vernon Ware, Ward 3. In relation to your FY '26 large expenditure products, the questions I have, I guess I have some questions for the public safety portion of this. Should I wait till this public safety meeting comes up and ask those? Or should I ask them, I got one for the Park and Recreation also, but we're not having that meeting tonight.
Right, well, so again, these are preliminary, they haven't been approved that they even will go into the budget, I mean,
Right. So this is like the raw budget. This is everything that was submitted and requested. It doesn't mean that it will be in the final budget, but the specific departmental budgets will be presented at those committee meetings. If you have something specific you want to make a comment about it for the council to know
Well, okay,
about.
the one on the Park and Recreation, you're going to build a new public, a new community park pavilion for 180,000. Is that correct? That's what you got on here.
That's what's
that was on the
projected.
CP 2607, Community Park Pavilion,
Okay.
180,000. That's on the list, but that doesn't mean it will be approved in the final budget.
Okay, so are you going to tear down the old one then?
These are the small pavilions that are already gone from the construction. There's the
Oh,
large
you're
one.
talking about those other little three ones you want to put
Those
in there?
little ones.
Okay, then you should have put three small ones up there near. Anyway, okay. The other one I had was regard to the $5 million you're going to spend for a new public works operation building. That's going to be shared cost. If you're putting $250 million under one and $250 million under the other, so we're talking $5 million for this building. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct, okay, thank you. And then the Reeder Road Sanitary Sewer Lift Station, $2,750,000. I thought it all ran downhill to the waste treatment plant. Is there a reason why they need a lift station in there? What are they lifting? You know, I know they're lifting the waste, but I thought it was gravity fed to the plant. Okay, and I was wondering about the 3401 that deals with the wastewater treatment plant bank project. I was wondering what that was for $350,000. Is that to take care of the banks from the Silver Creek, or is it the banks that run the water to the facility? I mean, erosion type. I don't understand that one. That's just my questions. I mean, I thought I'd ask those in public works, because maybe they would bring, are they gonna have the same paperwork to look at? Or they're just
So,
gonna
yeah,
waive
that
them?
would be appropriate for Public Works, and when
That's
that committee
what I'll
comes
do
up,
then.
he
Okay,
can, he can go into detail on those.
Sure.
And
Okay.
some of those, Vern, you'll see a CIP project number, so those are already reflected in the CIP that was presented in September, so like that's 26-19. So if you go to the CIP that was presented, you'll see that whole project and the explanation and all of that.
Okay.
So
great.
if there's a number there, that's already reflected.
All right, I'll have to look at it.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, sir. Anyone else? All right, there is no vote that has to be done on this. This is just getting everything together and kind of bringing up the the budget for the year, so we've got a lot to discuss over the next few months, as you can see, but that gets it kicked off. So anything else you want to add to that, Sandy?
No.
All right. All right, moving on from 3.1 to 3.2, Administration Committee reports. Anything?
Just info?
Any questions from anyone on that?
Yeah, for me, I'm just curious, as far as the waste management portion, do we know if you reach out to their customer service, do they give citizens a credit? Or I'm just curious, because it says basically they're not liable for any of it due to a clause in the contract. So Walter or anyone, do you know if they're actually issuing refunds to anyone?
I'm not aware of it. Not that they've told us. Because I guess,
That is correct. The statement in the report talks about they will not be issuing credits is confirmed that that's what they told residents as well.
Does that answer your question?
It does. I'm not happy with it. You know, everyone was hit with that full bill, and I don't really see that they're doing anything to offset that to residents who didn't get it picked up, so.
And I agree with you, but, and we were also concerned and disappointed with them. But we felt that at the time, we don't want them to use the promise of a credit for a future excuse to not pick up trash. And so we made them well aware of our concerns and that thought process.
And last thing, with not having been through a contract with, or a negotiation with Waste Management, is it something we can kind of put on the list for discussion next time?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think I was just talking to Sandy about that. I think we've got 3 years left on this contract, something right around that. So we're 2 years into it with three remaining. So, all right. Any other comments on that?
Yeah, with the waste management in our ward, 3 has a lot of alley pickup, and I know I talked to you, and I think into the future we can learn from this, and I just would like to maybe see a little bit more of the residents understanding how that's gonna go. I think there was a lot of confusion. I mean, unfortunately, with the layering of ice, that caused a lot of the problems. They were very understanding. Our residents are very understanding. But I just, a little bit more of like, hey, if this happens, this is kind of how it'll go, just to give them an idea, because they were a little lost.
Thanks, Andrew. Any other comments on the administration report? All right, moving on, 3.3, Treasurer's report. Sandy, anything you want to add?
Nope.
Any
Just
questions from the
info.
committee? Council? Public? Nope, all right. Then we'll move on to the quarterly investment report. Same thing, it's just information. Any questions by anybody? All right, if not, we'll move on to 4.1, public comments. If anybody's got any additional public comments concerning finance and administration, step up. Seeing none, we'll move to adjournment. So I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
I have 6 p.m. I'm going to call the Community Development Committee to order. I know, I need to bang the gavel. There we go. 6 p.m. I have the community, I have 6 p.m. We're going to call the Community Development Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Albrecht. Here. Parchman. Here. Campbell. Here. Vorse. Here. Small here.
Here.
Roach.
Here. All right. First up, 1.3, approval of the minutes from our last January 13th meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Minutes approved. Next up, 2.1, ordinance amending ordinance 623, zoning development known as enclaves at Lawn Avenue, located at 104 Lawn Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So item 2.1 visited Planning Commission last week and received unanimous approval to move on to the Community Development Committee meeting. The Enclaves at Lawn is a multifamily development proposed on Lawn Avenue, just south of West State Street. The current zoning designation of these properties are MR1 planned use, which is also the current designation being proposed tonight. The long-term plan and the future land use map shows this area as a medium-density residential area, as well as the surrounding properties. The neighboring properties include some single-family and detached and attached multifamily residents. On the west side is the Engle Commercial Center and condominiums. On the south of the subject site is a High Point Center and BC Signs, and to the further east would be Roar Park and Cleats. And so for a little history on this project, you did see that it was a B1P zoning already. I'm sorry, an MR1P, so it's a plan use for multifamily residential. This site was reviewed by the City Council and approved a planned use designation on November 7th of 2022. That approval included planned use for 8 two-family dwellings, so a total of 16 doors on this site. One of the conditions on multifamily when they share amenities in the City will Fallon is this one in the picture. This is a crude picture, but please understand that the middle part is a intention to be a public road with a cul-de-sac turnabout servicing the 8 units. The condition in any multifamily that shares public amenities is that it stays under one ownership. And we have practiced this policy for a number of years so that shared amenities don't degrade or get fights with their neighbors on who pays the cost of them. The developer did build the first unit on lot number 8 of this picture, but it's small, so it's the southeast lot there on the corner. He did have a right to then build, and his access is on Lawn Avenue with a secondary onto a small driveway to the center of the site. The developer expressed the increased cost of the cul-de-sac for a public road and kind of shifted and slowed down on his plans. And another policy and plan use in our code of ordinances, plan uses are only good for 2 years. And so we reached out back to Tom McMillan, who is the developer and is present here today. He notified us and wished a change of the plan use. And so that is what started this process we are here today for. A little bit further history, he did submit this new plan in November 2024, and it did appear on the Planning Commission. That was for 2 units, so 3 duplexes. Remind you, one that was already built on the south side of the lot. And the developer wished for this to be, the number 1 site recommendation from staff is to not permit sole ownership, so to allow him to sell them individually. We informed him that would receive a negative staff recommendation due to a longstanding policy. We do not allow that. And so kind of at the last minute, as we were getting ready to go to Planning Commission, his design consultant and him worked a new plan where the center access aisle highlighted in red would be eliminated on accesses on the north and south lots. So upon that change, this site plan was given to the city, and this, what you see here, is 3 lots, each consisting of 1 duplex each. The north and south duplexes have access directly onto South Lawn Avenue, and the west lot, which is lot 3 now, has a dedicated private driveway access. So With this does meet the city's policy on that sole ownership, and we did change our staff recommendation to allow him, once built, to sell these individually as they no longer share that site access. So that gives us today to our plan use, which is amendment of a previously approved plan use that changes from 8 lots to 3 lots, pictured on the screens, and would allow for selling of each of these lots individually after construction. Getting back to the zoning, is currently and proposed will be MR1P. That's a plan use for multifamily. It does meet zoning district area and bulk regulations. Again, these will be exclusive drives to the lots that have the drives on them. It does include an extension of the sidewalk on South Lawn, and it does require screening for the north and southern property lines, since north and south are currently zoned, or are currently single-family residences. The drainage and utility easements are located on the west of the site, and that will retain on Lot 3. And so Lot 3 owner will be required to maintain those drainage areas as per city code. Another change is the building and elevations. So the current building that's already on the south site that was built is a 2-story duplex. The new building will be, or the 2 new buildings will both be single-story duplexes, but we will be requiring them to share likeness and similar building materials for the existing 2-story duplex. This does conform with the 2040 master plan by diversifying the housing stock and providing a range of housing sizes, types, and price points to accommodate individuals and families varying life phases, abilities, and economic means, and it activates vacant lots in areas of low growth. This does conform with the city's zoning ordinance and does meet all bulk regulations of the respective zoning district, and will not have a significant impact on traffic, nor will it negatively affect adjacent properties. As such, and approved by the Planning Commission, the staff recommends approval of project with the following conditions. The most notable, this would allow the 3 lots that are permitted to be sold after, and held under individual ownership. There will be the normal parkland dedication fees. All landscaping, exterior lighting, and signage must comply with applicable codes, and no variances are requested by the developer at that. We will be requiring structural buffers on the north and south property lines. The drainage area on the west of the site will continue to be maintained by the lot owner and will not be the responsibility of the city. This will be owned and operated by the Lot 3 owner. And to ensure consistent and compatible development, the new residences are required to share similar visual and material qualities with the existing 2-family residence on the south lot. That concludes my presentation. If you have questions now, I will be happy to answer them.
All right. One question I did have with the drainage. So given that whoever may own that lot is responsible for it.
That's correct.
What do we, because we've ran into this other places where we have owners that will obviously take over or have drainage in their area and they can't upkeep it, or what mechanism do we have?
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
ensure that?
So then it becomes a code enforcement issue. And so property owners don't have the right to prohibit drainage through their property lines. And so with any other code enforcement issue, it will be addressed if the complaint is founded and discovered. It's very similar to anybody that lives on a lake. You know, you own the lake, but you're kind of taking on everybody else's stormwater. If your lake gets overgrown, and we've had a history of people putting, one person put a 5-gallon bucket in a storm sewer inlet. Some people put rebar in front of it for one reason or another, and it's dealt with it from a code enforcement perspective.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Yes.
So as I read this, it means somebody will own the lot and either have 2 people living in it, 2 families or whatever, or they could live in one side and rent the other side out. Is that right?
Correct. Yes, but it will not be condoed, so you can't buy half the duplex.
Okay.
And the builder is here if there's any specific questions about the building style.
Any other questions from the committee?
Will that middle driveway be required to look like the other ones there, paved or got the concrete down?
Yes, sir. We don't allow rock driveways in
Okay,
town.
got it.
Todd?
Yes.
I forgot to ask. Those were private streets, right? The driveways,
So the driveway will be a private driveway access owned by the Lot 3 owner.
and they're built to our standard?
We don't necessarily have a standard for driveways other than a
Yeah.
minimum
Okay.
threshold.
Any questions from the council? Public? Oh, Ross?
Is there any recourse or way, let's say I buy lot 3, the drainage is my issue. I know that going in, but if I sell it down the road, is there a way for us to make sure that subsequent owners are aware of that before they go in, like, I mean, I don't know how to do that, right?
Right.
But unless they go look up the deed at the county, is there a way that we as a city can say, hey, oh, by the way, you know, like when we do change of ownership inspections or something, because somebody down the road may not get that information and that's going to become a problem.
Yep, understood. No, we do not do title searches or deed searches when we process occupancies or change of ownership paperwork, but it will carry with the property. And so, I mean, any title search will discover that. Again, if it becomes an issue, then we deal with it. We deal with issues every day through code enforcement.
Yeah, if you could just come up to the microphone.
In the entire time that I've owned that, the only maintenance really is just mowing it, because there's not a lot of water that comes through there. There's no mud or anything that comes through there, so. And it's pretty susceptible to be mowed quite easily. Sometimes when there's a lot of rain, you know, it might be a little bit muddy with the lawnmower, but it's easy to take care of, so. I don't foresee any problems in the future, is all I'm saying. As long as they mow it, of course.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Ross?
Jeff, I know that you don't have a crystal ball, but I know you know what you're talking about. Is this going to become a problem down the road, potentially? I mean,
No, I do not envision the detention pond that's in their place now to become a problem. And to point out also, it was designed to accommodate 5 homes that were proposed on there in the past with additional impervious area. So the engineer did calculations, found that this design would actually decrease the runoff because the impervious area is being reduced from the original design.
I have one more question. I'm sorry, Todd.
Yep.
The north and south, I guess lots 1 and
1 and 2 now.
yeah, there's a whole lot more acreage there. Are they owning, whoever buys those 2, are they going to own that bigger piece of property? Or is the unused, is it, part of it going to stay in your control?
No, it's going to be three lots that size, so whomever owns each lot would own.
So no future developments
No future.
on those? Got it, thanks.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, the maintenance, yard maintenance of those much larger areas would be the residents' responsibility or the owner's responsibility?
I would think it'd be the owner's responsibility, depending on how he works the lead. Currently, I take care of it all. It takes about 3 hours to mow it all.
When there is a complaint for long grass or weeds, it is the owner's responsibility.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion from the committee? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Parchman,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Force.
Yes.
Small here,
Yes.
Roach.
Yes.
Albrecht.
No.
Okay, so we just crossed the first one off the list. The first reading for City Council will be Monday, February 3rd at 7 p.m. We will return to Community Development Committee for second reading on February 10th, and then Tuesday, February 18th with a City Council meeting at 7 p.m.
All right, and then 2.2 is just a second reading, no changes there to update the occupancy fees.
Correct.
Any additional questions or comments from the committee on that? Council? Public? All right. Then we move into public comments.
Mr. Chair, I do have one comment before we go into public. A rather significant announcement was made today for the city of O'Fallon, a large development near Rita Road, or not Rita Road, Veneta Road. I wish and dream about Rita Road sometimes. Veneta Road, and so if the council and public can look at the future meeting dates, we would like a really great attendance at these public open houses. There are web pages set up for questions and answers. And if we have questions or the public has questions, please provide them so we can record them and get them answered. We do want everyone to feel like they're heard and have input and get their questions answered as we move forward in this lengthy process on this project. That will be a couple months of public meetings before it ever reaches the Planning Commission.
And that's Park Place, is that?
It is called Park Place. Yes, that name, it's the west of Veneta Road at Porter. It includes some multifamily apartments and townhomes, single-family residential units and villas, retail, hotel, and a golf-like entertainment complex.
And we'll have how many total public meetings that people have an opportunity to attend?
It would take me a while to count them. I'll get back to you on that.
Several.
Several.
That's the answer. Okay.
Several will be a good word.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Then I move into public comment. Any public comment for the community development? All right. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
So much quicker than mine.
Jeff, you ready? You ready? All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Rosenberg.
Present.
Mylert.
Here.
Roach.
Here.
Carney.
Here.
Van Hook. Here. Hudson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. First order of business will be approval of the minutes. I will take a,
Make a motion.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any questions, concerns, comments from anybody about the minutes? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes passed. Those are from the November 25th meeting, by the way. All right, items requiring council action, 2.1, Jeff?
Yes, 2.1 is a resolution authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign the required IDOT documents regarding motor fuel tax fund supplemental for FY 2026 annual general maintenance program in the amount of $866,937.14. So what these documents are, they're required to be done annually, correspond with the budget, and what they allow us to do is utilize motor fuel tax funds for general road maintenance purposes. Within these documents, it kind of breaks it down between, street patching, crack sealing, salt we purchase for snow removal, traffic signals, street lighting, drainage, concrete, signposts, street sweeping, and pavement marking. So it breaks all that down, shows you how much we plan on utilizing our motor fuel tax funds to fund those operations. Also includes $15,000 for our bridge inspection services that an engineering consultant firm does for us. So I would recommend approval of this resolution.
Thank you. Questions? I'll take a motion first.
Make a motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns from the committee? This is normal every year?
Yeah, every year
thing?
about this time, we put it together. We do it a little before the budget process because it takes a little while for IDOT to approve it and issue approval, and then we cannot start purchasing this equipment until they do that, provide that approval.
Council? Public? All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mylert.
Yes.
Roach.
Yes.
Carney.
Yes.
Van Hook. Yes. Hudson.
Yes.
Rosenberg.
Affirmative.
All right, that'll move forward to council meeting next Monday.
All right, thank you. And 2.2, please.
2.2 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Roots, Inc. for the installation, storage of seasonal decorations for the 2025 through 2029 holiday seasons. So the Christmas decorations that are currently up downtown, down Spiley, Highway 50, Regency Park, Central Park, they're still up because we need to hire a new contractor to remove them and store them. Our current contract with Demond Signs has expired, so we put out a request for proposal to ask for proposals from contractors to perform this work. And once we did receive 2 proposals, there's a bid tab summarizing both of those. First one was for Roots, Inc. for $48,000 annually. The second bid was from Mack Electric for $48,500. So again, this would involve removing the decorations that are up now, reinstalling the Hometown Hero banners downtown, storing all those decorations until they go back up in the fall, and then reinstalling them. So that's, and the way it's broken up is they'd be paid 1/3 of that amount upon removal and storage, and the other 2/3 when they go back up next fall. So I'd recommend approval of this agreement.
Looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. The maintenance of the decorations, that's on us, correct?
No, so the maintenance would be on this contractor also. So what they'll do, a couple weeks prior to them going up, they'll pull them out of storage. They'll test all the decorations, make sure all the lights work. It's on them to then repair them and fix them as needed. Now, if you get to a point where one's in just complete disrepair, then the city would pay to replace an entire fixture, but they would be maintaining, just the bulbs on them.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee?
Is this a 5-year contract? That's right?
This would be for 5 years, correct?
And that's what the same as the one that was done previously with Demond Signs.
Do you know how much the last contract was? Is this a big increase?
So the last one was a little over $39,000. So again, that was 5 years ago. In that time, as we know, labor costs have extremely increased, especially in the state with the minimum wage requirements, things of that nature. So really, we're not surprised when we saw this. Plus, that $39,000 did not include the Hometown Hero banners. That's been added in also.
Okay. Any other?
Maintain that.
Yeah, those just go up and come down. When they come down, we return them to the organizer of that. They store them in the winter and then bring them back, and then they go back up.
They actually, side note, they actually hand them to either the individual or the family of the person. Any other questions or concerns from the committee?
And just given that the bid is $500 difference, do we have any concern that this is not their roots? It's not dealing with any electrical type at all? Do we have any concerns with that being a problem?
There is not. Demond Signs, they didn't have any electricians that perform work, so they're plug and play. You plug these into the system. If there are beyond that further electrical issues, then we have to troubleshoot those our own and take care of those. But in most cases, they're able to plug them in, and it doesn't require an electrician to perform that work.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Any others? Council? Jerry?
Where's it all stored?
So that is on the contractor to storage. I did reach out to Roots. They do have a storage container in the city they plan on storing it in.
Anyone else from the council? Public? Roll call, please.
Roach.
Yes.
Carney.
Yes.
Van Hook.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Rosenberg.
Affirmative?
Myler.
Yes.
That will move forward to next Monday council meeting also.
Thank you, sir. And other business, 3.1, the MS4 program.
Yes, so similar, every year we have an agenda item to discuss our MS4 program. That stands for the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. So this is an annual report we put together, provide to the IEPA that shows all the measures that have been taken related to this program. The report is attached. I'm trying to get it to pull up. It's pretty lengthy, so looks like it's taking a little while. So this report is from the March 2023 to March 2024. All the information related to it are in here. The other thing I wanted to point out was we are co-members of a committee that's made up of not only our community, but many of the neighboring communities in the county itself, townships, that we work together as a group to complete a lot of the requirements and tasks associated with this permit. So we're not alone out here doing our own thing. It's a joint effort with many other communities throughout our county. So, if anyone has any specific questions regarding the program or questions about any of the information in the report, I'd be happy to answer them.
I only had one question, and it was, is there a way for residents to get on the mailing list for that? Because there's a newsletter or something, a bulletin or something that comes out, right?
So I know that the co-committee group, there's quarterly meetings that are held where training's done. I know they do a lot of community outreach in schools, things of that nature, but I'll have to look into if there's mailings that occur, and if they do, how someone could get involved in that.
All right, thanks. Any questions or comments from the committee? Council? Public? You know the drill.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Dave Pfeiffer, 801 Deer Creek Road. I didn't read this in great detail. It's a rather lengthy attachment, but what I did glance through and see is that I didn't see it addressing really any stormwater issues in this package at all. I'm not sure what the purpose of it is, but it didn't say anything about preventing Mary Coleman flooding for the 5th time. I didn't see anything about that. The mismanagement of the stormwater when they built the hundreds of homes in Engle Creek. I think it's still called Engle Creek, Mr. Taylor, if I remember right. If we can get that right, maybe someday we'll appreciate that. Nothing about reducing the base flood elevation that was raised by 7 feet anywhere in there. And if I missed it, please let me know. I didn't see anything about the erosion that threatens your sewer line that we protect, or the homes, more importantly, our homes, as the creek continues to erode and expand. I'm sure you think it's meandering. I think it's being expanded by stormwater, but what do I know? And use of our property as a detention basin for almost half of the city of O'Fallon. So anyway, I didn't see any of that in there, but maybe we could do that sometime. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else from the public?
Vernon Ware, Ward 3. Piggybacking off of his thoughts, all the trouble that's been going through for that, for Engle Creek, whatever you want to call it. I noticed here you have a council priority on the Elizabeth Drive drainage study for $50,000. But you haven't done anything for them, but you're putting $50,000 towards that. Interesting. And then I also noticed under new, which is the pavement management program for $2 million. Is that is what you're planning on predicting on funding for repairs to the streets, or are we repaving something else? I know I brought up the point about the new public work operation building of both sharing the cost of $2.5 million. They're going to spend $5 million for this, and I just when these come up, they're up now, so I just want to know what's the plan for that. Thank you.
So I can respond to a couple of those. You mentioned the Elizabeth Creek drainage study. That was added to the CIP. There's plans to budget funds to start that study next fiscal year. You made reference to Engle Creek. That is currently being studied now. There was $50,000 set in this year's budget that is currently being looked at. The pavement management program, that's our annual pavement repair program we've been implementing for, it's probably going on 8 years now, if I had to guess. So that's part of the program where we have a consulting engineer go out and grade all the streets in town, give us recommendations on how to improve them, to keep them up to standards, and then we utilize those funds to achieve that. Operations building, yes, that's a new building for operations employees. That would be for both water and sewer employees to have a place to come to work, to store vehicles, equipment, have a proper shop for fleet mechanics to do fleet maintenance work on. So that's been in design for over a year, been in the CIP for probably at least 2 years. So just moving forward with that process.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other?
If you don't remember, I'm Dave Pfeiffer from 801 Deer Creek Road.
I didn't remember.
Thank you. You mentioned that we're studying Engle Creek. We still call it the Deer Creek Drainage Plan. Are we addressing and studying the Deer Creek watershed? Or the Engle Creek watershed, rather? Are we studying that and the lack of stormwater management along that area?
The study is called the Deer Creek Subdivision Drainage Study. Engle Creek is miles long.
Well,
so what we try to do when we define a study area, we define it to a subdivision. So when I'm long gone and someone goes back to look for that study years from now, it's going to be hard to find just some study called Engle Creek. So we specifically gear it towards a specific subdivision to make it easier to find in the future and more relative to that specific area.
It's on a map. You can't find Engle Creek. And plus it stops at, for the city, it stops pretty much at Seven Hills Road. We can't define the scope of our study for that. I think we've done that twice. Stormwater master plan, and when you did your letter of map, I think it was a revision, you just studied that area. And we can't just do this now. We don't have to go from O'Fallon to Kaskaskia or Silver Creek. I think we probably could stay around. You did this when you looked at Cherry Streets for the last meeting. You talked about defining an area, and I asked about that. I said, yeah, we can just restrict that. So certainly you can stop this and study the Engle Creek watershed within the city limits and the housing that went in there.
Appreciate your time. You're welcome. Are there any other comments? All right, we'll take motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? We are adjourned.